Dear chosen one, there's a kind of hurt that cuts deeper than most, and it comes from the people you call family. These are the people you're supposed to feel safe with, the ones meant to support you, protect you, and love you no matter what. But for some of us, that's not the reality. When the people you expect to lift you up are the same ones who bring you down, it creates a pain that's hard to explain. It doesn't just hurt, it shakes you to your core. You start questioning everything. You wonder if maybe you're the problem. You wonder if your memories are wrong. You wonder if you're asking for too much just by wanting peace. If you're someone who feels deeply, who thinks differently, and who carries a spiritual calling, your path is already a heavy one. You're here to grow, to heal, and to live with purpose, but that kind of journey isn't easy. It takes strength, self-awareness, and a willingness to face uncomfortable truths. And one of those truths is that not everyone in your family is meant to go with you on this journey. Some are tied to your past, but they can't follow you into your future. And as painful as that is, you need to accept it without guilt. See, just because someone shares your blood doesn't mean they're good for your soul. Family isn't just about DNA, it's about energy, respect, support, and love. And sadly, many people stay stuck in life not because they don't have purpose, but because they're emotionally trapped in toxic family patterns. These patterns keep them small. They create guilt, shame, confusion, and fear. And over time, these emotional chains start to feel normal. But they're not. They're keeping you from stepping into the person you're truly meant to be. Maybe you've started to wake up. You've been feeling the call to grow, to heal, to change your life. You're becoming more mindful. You're learning how to set boundaries, how to reclaim your energy, and how to speak your truth. You're realizing that you're not here to repeat old cycles, you're here to break them. But when you try to explain this to your family, you're not met with support. Instead, they mock you. They act like you're being dramatic. They make jokes when you talk about energy, emotions, or healing. They say things like, "You've changed," or "You're too sensitive," or "You think you're better than us now," but you're not the problem. The truth is, your growth makes them uncomfortable. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because your light is shining a spotlight on everything they haven't dealt with. Your healing makes their wounds more visible. Your strength reminds them of where they still feel weak. Your voice calls out the silence they've grown used to. And for people who are still asleep to their own pain, your awakening feels like a threat. You might try to explain how you feel. You might try to tell them your truth. You might bring up things that hurt you, hoping they'll understand. But instead of listening, they twist your words. They tell you that you're making things up. They act like you're too emotional or too needy. They rewrite the story to make you doubt yourself. This is called gaslighting, and it's a form of emotional manipulation. It makes you question your own memories, your own feelings, your own reality. And it's not okay. Here's what you need to remember. Just because they deny it doesn't mean it didn't happen. Just because they try to make you feel crazy doesn't mean you are. You know what you felt. You know what you lived through. And your truth is valid, even if they never admit it. Speaking up might shake things. It might make people angry. It might change relationships. But your voice matters. Your story matters. And every time you speak your truth, you take back your power. Sometimes, the people who should be your biggest cheerleaders turn into your biggest critics. You achieve something great. You heal a part of yourself. You follow your dream. You start doing better. And instead of being happy for you, they get jealous. They act cold or distant. They make little comments to put you down or make you doubt yourself. They gossip behind your back or try to make your success seem smaller than it is. Why? Because your growth reminds them of what they haven't done. Your light reflects their shadow. And instead of being inspired, they feel threatened. But you are not here to make other people comfortable. You are not here to shrink yourself to fit into spaces that don't value you. You were meant to shine, to grow, to rise. And anyone who truly loves you will support that, even if they don't fully understand it. Real love celebrates you. Real family lifts you up. And if someone can't do that, even if they're related to you, you have every right to set a boundary. Setting boundaries doesn't mean you don't love your family. It means you love yourself enough to protect your peace. It means you're choosing growth over guilt, healing over history, and peace over patterns. And yes, it's hard. It's hard to distance yourself from the people you once depended on. It's hard to say no more to the ones you were taught to always say yes to. But you can't pour from an empty cup. And you can't keep sacrificing your well-being to keep the peace in a home that only knows chaos. If this message is reaching you now, maybe it's not a coincidence. Maybe it's the sign you've been waiting for, the nudge you needed to trust your feelings, to believe in your path, and to stop doubting your truth. You are not broken. You are not selfish. You are waking up. And waking up is messy. It's emotional. It's lonely at times. But it's also powerful. There's a tribe out here for people like you. People who feel too much. People who see the world differently. People who refuse to stay silent or small. You are not alone. You are not weird. You are not too much. You are enough, exactly as you are. And just because your family doesn't understand your journey doesn't mean your journey isn't real. Just because they can't see your growth doesn't mean it's not happening. Keep going. Keep healing. Keep shining. You were chosen for a reason, and no amount of family dysfunction can take that away from you. As you continue on your path, remember this: not everyone will come with you. Some people are only meant to be part of your beginning, not your becoming. Letting go isn't about hate, it's about love. Love for yourself. Love for your peace. Love for your purpose. And when you feel lost, confused, or tempted to go back to what you've outgrown, come back to this truth. You are not crazy, you're becoming conscious. In a world that teaches us to stay numb, to stay silent, to stay stuck, you're choosing something different. That's brave. That's rare. That's beautiful. Sometimes, the hardest thing about growing is not the change itself, but how the people closest to you react to it, especially family. When you start to grow, heal, and become more aware of who you are, not everyone will celebrate you. Some will resist it, not because your growth is wrong, but because your growth threatens the version of you they were comfortable with. For many toxic family members, it's easier when you stay the same. When you're predictable, quiet, easy to manage. When you go along with their needs, ignore your own, and fit into the role they've always seen you in. Maybe you were the one who always gave in. The peacekeeper. The one who kept the family together. The one who stayed small so others could feel big. That version of you made them feel safe, not because it was best for you, but because it made you easier to control. But change is part of life. Real growth often means becoming uncomfortable, not just for you, but for those around you. When you start setting boundaries, speaking up, or making choices that put your well-being first, it can upset people. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're no longer being who they want you to be. They might say, "You've changed," but not in a proud or supportive way. They say it with judgment, as if change is something bad. What they really mean is, you're not as easy to control anymore. And that bothers them. When you stop playing the role they gave you, whether it's the caregiver, the black sheep, the fixer, or the one who never says no, they feel like they're losing control. But here's the truth: you weren't born to stay trapped in someone else's idea of who you should be. You weren't born to live a life that makes others comfortable, but keeps you miserable. You're here to grow, to change, to find peace, and to create a life that honors your truth. And yes, when you do that, some people will get mad. They'll try to guilt you. They'll say you're selfish. They'll act like you've abandoned them. But none of that means you're doing the wrong thing. It just means you're doing something they don't like because it doesn't benefit them anymore. You might notice something else too. Every time you talk to them, you feel drained. Maybe it's not always a big fight or argument. Sometimes it's subtle. They sigh. They make small, cutting comments. They remind you of all they've done for you. They bring up the past to make you feel bad. And even though they don't say it directly, you walk away feeling heavy, tired, questioning yourself, wondering if you're the problem. But that's the thing about emotional manipulation. It's sneaky. It's not always loud or obvious. Sometimes it shows up in the form of guilt, passive aggression, or silent treatment. And you feel it in your body, in your spirit, like your peace has been stolen, like something inside you is shrinking again. This is not what love feels like. Real love doesn't leave you feeling confused or small. Real love nurtures, supports, and helps you grow. Toxic love drains, controls, and pulls you back every time you try to break free. And the worst part? The guilt they use. The classic lines like, "After everything I've done for you," or "Family is everything," or "You're turning your back on us." These aren't meant to bring you closer. They're meant to make you feel bad so you stay stuck. Guilt becomes a leash they use to keep you in the same toxic cycle. And if you're someone with a big heart, someone who wants to love and forgive, this can be incredibly painful. You want to stay connected. You want to do the right thing. But you have to understand something very important. Guilt is not love. Love makes space for you to be who you are. Guilt tries to pull you back into a role that's no longer healthy. You're not here to meet everyone's expectations. You're here to live your truth, and that sometimes means saying no, walking away, or setting boundaries, even with family. And boundaries, let's talk about them. When you try to create space, toxic family members might push harder. You say no, and they get louder. You ask for respect, and they act like you're being disrespectful. But setting a boundary doesn't mean you're being rude or cruel. It means you value your peace. You value your energy. You value yourself. They may not see it that way. They might accuse you of being selfish or dramatic. But that's because they don't see you as an individual with your own needs. They see you as someone who exists to meet theirs. And when you stop doing that, they panic. That's not love. That's control disguised as concern. Sometimes, in toxic families, the one who sees clearly, the one who wants to break the cycle, becomes the scapegoat. You might be labeled the troublemaker, the ungrateful one, the one who's changed too much. But here's what's really happening. Your light is shining, and it's making their shadows harder to ignore. You are not the problem. You are the mirror. Your healing, your strength, your awareness, it reveals what they haven't dealt with. And instead of facing their own issues, they blame you. It hurts. It's lonely. And sometimes it makes you want to go back just to feel accepted again. But don't forget, you were never meant to fit into a broken system. You were meant to rise above it, to change it, to stop the pattern from continuing into the next generation. This path isn't easy. It comes with growing pains, with moments of doubt and grief. You might lose relationships. You might be misunderstood. But in return, you gain something even more powerful: freedom, peace, self-respect, and the chance to live a life that's true to you, not one built on fear, guilt, or obligation. You might be walking this road feeling alone right now, like no one gets it, like everyone else is still stuck in the old ways, and you're the only one choosing something different. But you are not alone. Many people are walking this same path, quietly, bravely, choosing healing over comfort, truth over tradition. And even though your family may be where you come from, they are not your final destination. You get to choose where your life goes from here. You get to decide what love looks like, what peace feels like, what family truly means. If this message found you when you were feeling unsure, tired, or like giving up, let it be a reminder that your transformation is valid. Your growth is real. Your boundaries are necessary, and your healing matters. Let them say you've changed. Let them call you selfish. That just means you're no longer willing to shrink for their comfort. You're finally choosing you, and that's not wrong. That's what healing looks like.